Welcome back to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. Here's your host, Brother Robert Johnson.
Welcome back. This is episode number 409. Well, it's a great week for Masonic education. This episode I wanted to dedicate to illustrious Brother Henry C. Clausen. In this episode, rather than read you a few papers, I'm actually going to play for you an entire speech that Henry Clausen gave as the Grand Commander of the Southern Jurisdiction a long while back. He has since passed away, and it's interesting to note he's probably one of the most adept Masons to ever hold the office of a Grand Commander. He is, in fact, the same brother who brought Manly P. Hall into the organization. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. In the news, I want to mention, that Masonicon Chicago, the website's been updated. We have a few more things on there. It's pretty awesome. We now have a little bit more about some Masonic cons, We've got in Attleboro, the original, Southern California, Esotericon, Camp Masonry, and even Texas Masonicon. We've got links to all of those on the MasonicConChicago.com website. So if you head on over to MasonicConChicago.com or simply just go to MasonicConChicago.com, you can go to either web address and it'll take you here and you can see some updates. We've also got, thanks to RDBI Solutions, who is a really great friend of mine, and Brother Robert Shank, who has a data business, and he offered to put together a great map that shows where people are coming from in order to come to Masonicon, those who have registered already, and where they're coming from, etc., etc. You can check that out on our website. We've got people from all across the United States. We span from sea to sea on this one, Virginia to California, across the middle of the United States, plus some upper northeast states and Texas. So check that out. Also, RDBI sponsored Masonicon Chicago, so we want to thank them publicly. Go to the website, you can click on the link there and check out some of those services. And also Amity. Amity went ahead and sponsored us as well. So we've got links back to those guys. We want to thank them publicly for the support. We're talking about this a year out. We've got 56 weeks to go. And it's going to be an amazing event. So we got to talk about it. We're planning, and it's just going to be epic. So, again, subscribe for updates so that you're the first to know. We did just launch the first video announcing the speaker. So if you're hearing this but you don't know who it is, that's because you didn't subscribe to the updates. And I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to wait until we post on Facebook, probably Tuesdays, or you can sign up for the newsletter and you'll get the next one. But we'll be releasing just who those are about a week after we announce it to the subscribers. So be sure to check it out. Speaking of subscriptions, head on over to YouTube and subscribe to us via YouTube so that we can get access to some great YouTube features, so we can get access to studios and some other things when we go to other states and bring you even more great Masonic education and great content. What else is going on? Well, a pretty cool event is coming up. September 21st, I'll be at the Lodge of the Nine Sisters 773 in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I'm going to be there with my good friend and brother, John Ruark, also co-author. We wrote a book together, and it's going to be fantastic. We're going to be talking about some esoteric concepts. So not going too far down the rabbit hole, but we are going to be talking about symbolism and some of the wonderful things that go along with that and actuating our minds. Think about that if you're going to be in the Raleigh, North Carolina area around the 21st of September. I have to give a shout out to Oriental Lodge 33. Once more, they were absolutely awesome and fantastic to be able to go out there and do a little presentation on the exploration on the Chamber of Reflection. So that's it. I want to get right into the education this week. We'll do that right after this. Now comes the point in the show where I ask you to help support this show. How do we do that? Well, we have a bunch of different ways to do that today. If you head on over to wcypodcast.com, you can click on direct donation through PayPal, which we briefly touched on at the beginning of the program. Of course, you can make that one-time donation, or you can sign up to be a monthly contributor. Contributing $2 a month, $5, or even $10 a month, whatever you choose really helps the program out. Of course, we have a limited edition shop where you can pick up any number of items that come direct from us. Help us out by going to MasonicRevival.com, but also we have some other affiliates that are really important. Banker's Best, one of the most unique things we've ever done, is to work with Brother Levi Banker out of St. Louis, who owns his own company called Banker's Best Beard and Skincare. He's been so generous. If you head to wcypodcast.com, click on More, then click on Banker's Best, and you can check out a bunch of the different products he's got. He's got a whole line of beard care products, skin care, oils, balms, all of this stuff, and he has been doing it a long time. He knows a lot about it. Everything is handmade, quality items. We even came up with the King Solomon's Reserve Beard Balm, which is a few years old now, but remains one of the great products that he still offers. Even the artwork on the bottle was done by a brother. The nice thing about this particular product is 50% of the proceeds come back to the program. If you're a history guy like me, then you'll be pleased to know that what makes the beard oil and balm very special is that it was made utilizing the fragrances specific to the exports of King Solomon's time and location, which is amazing. So black fig and honey is the formula. Luxurious scent, as Levi says, truly fit for our first Grand Master. If you use the promo code BBWCY357 at checkout, you'll also get a little bit of a percentage off. Please check that out. Banker's Best, or just head on over to buybankersbest.com. We also have a code with On It. You can go to our website, click on More, then go to On It, and you can click through any of the links here, or just go to onit.com and use the promo code WCY at checkout. You'll get 10% off, and they'll send a little bit back to the program to help us out. And of course, it's business time. The book that I wrote with John T. Ruark, it is making some real waves, and people are using it and seeing success. So check that out on Amazon. You can click right to it. You can get it on Audible, Kindle, or in print, even on iBooks. And last but not least, I want to ask you to check out the Great Books program. You'll see the banner for it on the left-hand side, Intellectual Linear Progression. Use the promo code WCY, or you can just click on that link there, and you'll actually go right to the website and hear a little bit from Scott Hambrick about how awesome the program is. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoy, and thank you so much for helping us out. All right, once more, thanks very much to everybody out there supporting the program. Now, if you type in Henry C. Clausen on the internet, you're actually going to get more on the non-Masonic side than on the Masonic side. Henry Christian Clausen was born on July 30th of 1905, passed away December 1992. He's the author of something called the Clausen Report, which was an 800-page report on the Army Board's Pearl Harbor investigation. He traveled over 55,000 miles over 7 months in 1945, and he interviewed nearly 100 personnel, Army, Navy, British, and civilian, as a special investigator for the Secretary of War, Henry L. Stimson, carrying out an investigation ordered by Congress of the Secretary of War. So the Clausen Report was pretty interesting. Essentially, Clausen worked with Colonel Hughes, and they had to ask some questions, which were, what had Pearl Harbor known about Japanese intentions before the attack? What had Pearl Harbor done with the information before the attack? What had Washington known about Japanese intentions before the attack? And what had Washington done with the information before the attack? You can read all about the Clausen Report yourself on Wikipedia and dive into that. But there's an intense amount of information about Clausen on the web, but only 2 real lines about Freemasonry, outside of Masonic links, of course. And that is that Clausen achieved the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, the highest obtainable rank within the organization. He played a pivotal role, serving as both Grand Master of California as well as the Grand Commander of the Supreme Council, Mother Supreme Council of the World, of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. In this capacity, he authored several books discussing Freemasonry, all of which were published by the Supreme Council, 33rd Degree, Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Now, of his books that are really amazing, in the links to the show notes, I'm going to link all of the ISBN and OCLC numbers so that maybe you can find them. If you find them, they are extremely expensive. So, Beyond the Ordinary, Towards a Better, Wiser, and Happier World, Emergence of the Mystical, Your Amazing Mystic Powers, Stability, Strength, and Serenity. Those books in particular are very unique and pretty amazing. He has a couple others, Masons Who Help Shape Our Nation, Messages for a Mission, Why Public School. Crazy, right? Why Public School? It's kind of a political thing, but it was actually published by the Supreme Council, 33rd Degree. The Clausen Letters, which is a separation of church and state, also published by the Supreme Council. Lots of pretty amazing things, but I can't really tell you how amazing this guy really is. So rather than sit here and pontificate about him, let me just let you listen to the audio of him talking about the Scottish Rite and what it represents. Now, originally, the video was introduced by Ernest Borgnine, the famous actor, and this particular actor, Ernest Borgnine, said that Freemasonry was his religion. And so taking that into context, it's no surprise that Ernest Borgnine introduced this video series with Henry C. Clausen. So, without further ado, check this out.
And now, for the concluding segment of this filmatic visit to the House of the Temple, it is my sincere pleasure and honor to present to you the distinguished and illustrious Henry C. Clausen, 33rd Degree, Sovereign Grand Commander, the Supreme Council, 33rd Degree, Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Brother Clausen.
Sometimes it's asked, what is the mission of the Scottish Rite? Well, the mission of the Scottish Rite is bifurcated. That is twofold. One part includes the goal of the symbolic lodge, the Mother Grand Lodge of the World, the Grand Lodge of England, the first 3 degrees of Freemasonry, that adopted Anderson's constitutions in 1723 and thus became non-sectarian. This departed from a spiritual to a societal base. It is usually defined as a regular system of morality, veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. The Scottish Rite of the Mother jurisdiction, on the other hand, retained, reinforced, and expanded both goals, societal and spiritual. Hence, we pursue in daily living the virtues of morality, charity, and patriotism. But we also search for an ultimate mystic union with the deity, and for that purpose we reveal and apply in our degrees from the 4th to the 33rd the ancient wisdom, esoteric knowledge that comes to us over long, drifting centuries. Our Scottish Rite, therefore, delves deeply into philosophy and metaphysics, but we square this with the miracles of modern science. For example, in my book, Emergence of the Mystical, I correlate our Scottish Rite mission and modern science, and I show that they are compatible companions. Throughout all history, there have been examples of extraordinary purposes of the mind. These have included and been repeated in different forms, metaphors, that derive from what we know as wisdom of the ancients. The powers, forces, and energies can be discovered if we search deeply enough. They were to be found in all parts of the world, such as the mysteries of Isis and Osiris in Egypt, the Mithraic mysteries of the Persians, the Orphic and Bacchic and later Eleusinian mysteries of Greece, the mysteries of Samothrace and Chaldea, the mysteries of India, the Druidical mysteries, the Gothic and Scandinavian mysteries, and others. The object of these mysteries was not merely to teach morality. They developed the whole man and permitted him to attain his total potential. As Albert Pike said, had moral truths alone been taught the initiates, the mysteries could never have deserved and received the magnificent eulogies of the most enlightened men of antiquity, of Pindar, Plutarch, Isochrates, Diodorus, Plato, Euripides, Socrates, Aristophanes, Cicero, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and others. These were philosophers or historians devoted to the investigation of truth. All the sciences were taught there. In the cities of the ancient world, there were temples for public worship in which philosophers and mystics taught groups what were known as the lesser and greater mysteries. They imparted to their initiates the secret wisdom in sacred dramas and communications to those admitted as keys to wisdom for the doctrine of the one God, the resurrection of the eternal life, the dignity of the human soul, and union with the deity as reflected in the splendor of the universe. They taught the tremendous possibilities of the power of the will and reawakened spiritual strength so initiates would think positively, use their faculties with confidence and intelligence, improve their mental endowments, develop their will to control events, attitudes, and health, understand the possibilities of intuition, hypnotism, and the subconscious, be patient when confronted with adversity, courageous in the face of danger, resist temptation, and live worthily so as to gain the commendation of the deity. The ancient mysteries later fell into a perverted decline and were replaced with the ceremonial sorcery, incantations in lieu of divine magic. Also were filled with indescribable practices in the orgies of Bacchus. Some of the devout, few, succeed in preserving from oblivion the secret doctrines. But more often along the line, the keys to esoteric knowledge were thrown over the hedge of time. Few aspects of mystic power are more fascinating or buried more deeply in esoteric teachings and symbols. Thus, it was accessible only to selected candidates who had gone through the fires of initiation and vows of secrecy. Certainly, a correct reception requires more than a confused mind. May I distinguish what I call powers of the mind from ceremonial magic, whether white or black, that was vain and wicked, if not actually a kind of pious fraud. Those we wholeheartedly disapprove. the object of our inquiry rests upon far more solid ground. There are examples that prove to a point of demonstration the enormous powers of the mind. William James was the father of modern psychological science. At one time, he was professor of anatomy, psychology, and philosophy at Harvard University, combining body, mind, and soul. One of this country's most profound thinkers. There was an eminent psychologist, popular writer named Seabury, who mentioned in his book, How to Live with Yourself, that as a boy he sat upon the knee of William James, who was a good friend of his father. He remembered well, William James said that as a young man, he had a serious heart condition that predicted an early death. But he read a book which told of the seemingly magical powers of the will for control of the body. And so he determined to train his will to direct improvement of his heart condition. Every night, before going to sleep, he projected his will to visualize a healthy heart for the following day. He suggested this in repeating appropriate words. The results were remarkable. He felt he owed his life to that simple advice which worked so miraculously. You might try tapping your similar mystic powers, such as your capabilities of intuition. The modern Scottish Rite of the Mother jurisdiction has found the keys to esoteric knowledge, and therefore it is the direct, true descendant and the survivor of the ancient mysteries. We pursue, preserve, and teach the ancient wisdom and esoteric knowledge. That is why our house of the temple is replete and resplendent with artistic ornaments and priceless symbols. They reflect our mission to instruct men in the real science of being and to lead them up the stairway to perfection, to a realization of the true brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God.
And so the work of the Scottish Rite goes on. Workshops to motivate the membership in the various programs, improved rituals, all the varied programs of education and philanthropy and patriotism. The cause of human progress is the Scottish Rite's cause. The enfranchisement of human thought, its wish. The freedom of human conscience, its mission. And the guarantee of equal rights to all people everywhere, the end of its contention. Thank you for watching and listening. Goodbye, and God bless you all.
All right. So now you have to be wondering what in the hell happened to this kind of Freemasonry, right? Like, I know a lot of people out there who would say, if this is Freemasonry, I'm out. And you might be listening and be one of those people. And it's just fascinating to me to see where some people put the fraternity, myself included. I'm one of the people who would likely agree with Henry C. Clausen on these points. Not on everything, but there are a great deal of pieces of his speech here that I feel are relevant. And also, we should remember that at this time, the Scottish Rite was considered the College of Freemasonry, where you go for the additional light and, again, contextual information helps us here when we think about this is why Manly P. Hall was made a 33rd degree, like almost immediately. In all of that, another piece that's interesting here is somebody who is a big deal. This guy wrote books and was charged to figure out whether or not the United States knew about Pearl Harbor before it happened. And this is the stuff that he's into. I just posted something on the MidnightFreemasons.com last week on Monday about Brother Edgar Mitchell, a NASA astronaut who founded the Institute of Noetic Sciences. There is something to be said about these super intelligent people who see past the normal and dive into the deep. So that's all I have for you this week. I thought it was important to bring you these, and I hope you enjoyed listening to them. I hope you listened to them a few times. Share them with your friends. I have to say that there are rumors that after Clausen passed away or was no longer the Grand Commander, that all of his documents, his legacy, his videos were all swept out of the Scottish Rite and banished, essentially. I don't know if that's true or not. But if you're a brother and you're listening to this and you know that to be true, then let me know. I am curious as to what happened to all this. Of course, I have asked the question and I've received some responses, but I can't really talk about that because, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. So with that, I hope you guys all have just an amazing week. School is starting back up. If you're in school still, I hope you're making the easy adjustment. Until next week, stay on the level. For Whence Came You, I'm Robert Johnson. Take care.
You've been listening to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry with your host, Brother Robert Johnson. Be sure to join us for our next edition.